I heard an unattributed quote some years ago. Complaining is like bad breath. You notice it when it comes out of someone else's mouth, but not when it's your own. It's so true. Complaining is ubiquitous to the point of being a cultural requirement. And in a world in which if you complain hard enough, it can result in a payout, the compulsion to complain about anything and everything is simply overwhelming. A pastor from Kansas has made it his life's goal to roll back the tide and to end the complaints culture for good. Rev Will Bowen never intended to launch a worldwide movement. He simply suggested to his parishioners one Sunday in 2006 how they could improve their lives with the help of a wristband. Today, he sent out over 5 million wristbands to 80 different countries, unwittingly unleashing one of the most significant self-improvement crusades since Dale Carnegie. Not that he is complaining, mind you, because that's precisely the point. Bowen has given up complaining, well, mostly, and he wants the rest of the world to do the same. Bowen believes there is a direct correlation between an excess of global grumbling and why the world is not how we would like it to be. What the world needs most is for people to stop griping and start focusing on the positive. It all began in 2006 when he suggested to his congregation of 250 that they give up complaining for just 21 days. According to several studies, this is the length of time that it takes to break a habit. To reinforce his message, he handed out purple silicone bracelets stamped with the word spirit. Those who accepted the challenge to wear the bracelet would move it from wrist to wrist whenever they caught themselves complaining. And those who managed to keep their bracelets on the same wrist for 3 straight weeks were issued with a certificate of happiness. The no complaining idea struck a chord. Word spread and Bowen began getting requests for bracelets from around the world. He set up a non-profit group, A Complaint-Free World, and recruited volunteers to fill orders. Soon he was on TV and in the newspapers. Then, after appearing on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Bowen received orders for more than 2 million bracelets. Today, he sends out at least 25,000 wristbands a week. We live in a world where complaints are omnipresent. Social media platforms, customer service hotlines, and even casual conversations are filled with grievances and criticisms. Expressing dissatisfaction has become a universal pastime. But have you ever paused to think about the implications of our collective proclivity for complaining? Take, for example, the recent outcry over the quality of airline services. It's almost become a ritual to grumble about cramped seats, delayed flights, and less than palatable in-flight food, if there is food. According to the most recent annual airline quality rating, released by Wichita State University, overall complaints about commercial flying increased by 55% in 2022. The report found that all 4 performance criteria, on-time arrivals, involuntary denied boardings, mishandled bags, and customer complaints, declined compared to 2021. Or did they? Have things actually gotten worse, or are people simply complaining more? Airlines are scrambling to address the concerns, but perhaps there is something deeper going on. People are complaining about the slightest inconvenience in a way that previous generations didn't. And the phenomenon of widespread complaints isn't limited to airlines. Restaurants, retail stores, and even public services are constantly at the receiving end of criticism. This culture of complaining has created an environment where businesses and service providers are in a perpetual state of defense, always trying to anticipate and mitigate negative feedback. But what is achieved by our incessant grumbling? Does it lead to constructive changes, or does it just foster a sense of perpetual dissatisfaction and negativity? And how does complaining affect our mental and emotional well-being? Research indicates that frequent complaining rewires our brains, making us more likely to focus on the negative aspects of our lives and less likely to appreciate the positive. Instead of defaulting to complaints, what if we practiced gratitude and sought constructive solutions? Imagine the transformation if, instead of lamenting a delayed flight, we took a moment to appreciate that air travel connects us to distant loved ones and exciting opportunities. What if, instead of criticizing a meal in a restaurant, we expressed our preferences in a way that helps the chef improve and innovate? While reading through this week's Torah portion, Devarim, I was suddenly struck by an idea that I had never thought of before. Devarim is the first of a series of portions that recall Moses' final addresses to the Israelites before they embarked on the conquest of the Promised Land. In his speeches, Moses offered profound lessons on faith, responsibility, and duty. But thrown in among his words of wisdom are recollections of all the many instances when the nation had fallen short, and notably, every one of those instances involved complaints of one sort or another. Despite witnessing incredible miracles and experiencing divine intervention that ensured their survival against the odds, the Israelites frequently resorted to grumbling, sometimes when they faced challenges, but often when they had no real cause to complain. Every commentator raises the same question. Why did Moses bring up this aspect of the nation's behavior? Why dredge up ancient history, just as the Israelites were about to realize the promise of a new life in the land God had pledged to their ancestors? The commentaries offer a range of answers, but perhaps the point Moses was making was simple. Instead of all the complaints they had made moving things in a positive direction, all that had happened was that each incident had brought further misery and further exacerbated the Israelites' unhappiness. Moses was telling them the best route to happiness is to refrain from complaints and to find the good in every situation. Had you not complained, he was saying, we could have been here so much earlier and avoided so much trouble. Fast forward to modern times, and this lesson remains equally relevant. Our tendency to complain overshadows the many blessings and opportunities we have. Just as Moses urged the Israelites to reflect on the fact that their complaints had only made things worse, we too can benefit from this perspective. Finding reasons to be cheerful and grateful is so much better than seeking out problems and then going on and on about them. While it's totally natural to feel dissatisfaction and express it, we must be mindful of how we do it. To make complaining a way of life only breeds negativity and discontent. By adopting a mindset of gratitude and constructive feedback, we not only improve our own well-being, but also contribute to a more positive environment all around. The lesson of Moses in Devarim teaches us how our words can affect outcomes. The more negative we are, the more negative our lives will turn out to be. But when we embrace a more positive, solution-oriented outlook, our lives will be so much better. As Dale Carnegie put it so well, any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do.